I was born February 28, 1933 in Georgetown, South Carolina on Butt Street. We had a place we call Hump Alley. Okay, that's when after you finish your work in the afternoon, that's when all the kids on the west side and some kids from downtown, we would gather there and dance. And normally you had to leave about 9 o'clock. Because you know the older folks would if any of the older people would come by, they said, you ain't got no lesson there. You ain't got no lesson in school. So you would have to leave and go home. And matter of fact, before then, before Hump Alley is where it's at now, it was across the street. And they moved it, they rolled it over from across the street to the present position that it was. And it was 1942, 41 or either 42. I was a little boy, and I seen them rolling that building across the street. And that was one of the main places in Georgetown for everybody to go and have fun. I remember in Big J McNeely came in, the big band from, he was a big band at the time. It was 1948, that 47 he came to Georgetown. And a lot of people, Big J went through the streets from Front Street to Emmanuel Street, blowing his saxophone, so the people would come out that night to see him. And Georgetown at that time it was segregated, but we all had a beautiful time. We all lived, because we was all poor, white and black, we was all poor. So basically we ate the same food, all right? We had two schools, Winyo High School and Howard High School. Howard High School was located at Duke and King Street. Winyo High School was located on Dozier. Well, one of that. Winyo was located. So we was only about 2 blocks from one another. Okay, and at different parts of the year, every other year we'd alternate. Winyo would get out of school at 2 o'clock, and Howard would get out at 2:30, and next year it was vice versa. They didn't want to come in contact with one another because their little catastrophe might went down. Another thing I know about Georgetown was we had 2 movies, The Strand and The Palace. Okay, so I would ask people now, why did the white kids sit downstairs and the black kids sit upstairs? Well, the reason for that is if a fire starts, the white kids would get out first and the black kids would burn up because we had to come from the upstairs, downstairs.
I think I did hear that story.
See? So that was, but not only in Georgetown, but all southern states they had the same thing. That was going on in the South at that particular time. And another thing that I was proud about when they built a new school, when they built the new Howard School, they put it on Hawkins Street and Butt Street. Okay, see, all before, everybody on the west end, we had to go all the way downtown to King Street and King and Duke to Howard School. So, and we had a principal, he didn't take no stuff, Professor Beck. He wasn't mean, but he was just. And you learned from that man. We had 2 of them, Professor Bauer, Professor Howard, and Professor Beck. And when you went under those people, you got no education. If you want to learn, you was gonna learn. It was no ifs and about it, no two way about it. Anytime you graduate from Howard High School, you got a decent education. You can go anywhere, anywhere. That's the education that they prepared you with. And you had to get it. It was no F in hand. You know, if the teacher says, well, I'm going to stay with you till 5 o'clock this afternoon to make sure you get it. Oh, you was going to be there till 5 o'clock. It was no F and about it. You see, so that's the all the great things that all the people that graduate from Harvard High School, we all meet sometime once a year, sometime twice a year, and the education was so good that we all talk about it every time we meet. You know, we talk about our teachers, our former teachers, and who they were, and how well they taught. Yeah, my father, I don't know too much about my father because I don't even much remember the year he died. I think he died in 41. But my mother, I know a lot about her. Greatest woman ever walked this face of the earth. She was a wonderful woman. Oh yeah, yeah. The only thing she wanted to do was make sure that her children finished school. That was Beulah Logan. That was her original name. She got married to my father, and she became Evelyn Wragg. Wesley Wragg. My brother and I, we look just like him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had 10 brothers and 3 sisters. Oh, there was a bunch of us. There was Russell, Cephas, Fred, Marie, Leroy, Sam, Wes, Alice, and me. How much is that? 9. I think it was 9. I think it was 9. And my father had 3 children before he married to my mother. Yeah. She told me that that my father had $9 during the Depression. But my father was she said he was a hustler. He made clothes. He plowed. He was a cook. He sell food. He was everything. So that's why he had a little money. Well, during that time, there was only one way to make it through. You know that farming and working for. I know my mother told me she worked for $1.50 a week. You know, so that's how they made it. Well, you can just about judge how they made it. You don't need a PhD to figure that out. You know, during the time when they talk about it, because what really bring this country out was the Second World War. That's what really brought this country out. Because everybody else, you ever heard about the WPA? Okay, so that was a help there for the people. Mm. The only cemetery that I know that we lost track about, and I belongs to Dickinson AME Church, and they know they had a cemetery. It was out in Monka Grove. It was way out there because we was kids. A bunch of us used to go out there, but I never got. I got close to it, and I never got no farther. But I knew it was. I knew there was a cemetery out there, but I don't know how true this is. But I was talking to a lady about 10 years ago, and she says they had want to go out there and check it out, but the International Paper Company won't let them get in. So, but we knew it was. We knew the cemetery was there because every church in Georgetown at that time, they had their own cemetery. Bethel had their own cemetery, but Thursday had their own cemetery. St. Stephen had their own cemetery. And Dickinson had their own cemetery. But we noticed it was cemetery. Mm. Well, I heard from J.J. Simmons. He says he had family died back there. And another one of my classmates, Joseph Simmons, he had family was buried back there. And I'm quite sure that the people who was living in that area at that time, like the parson, I'm quite sure they had people buried back there. Houston parson, yeah, those were the parsons that living back there because they migrated from Monk Grove. Quite a few people they all migrate from Monk Grove to come into Georgetown to live. The word plantation never came up. But when you think about it, the whole thing was plantation back in that area. You see? And because certain things that you found going back there, because we had a swimming pool, we used to call it the creek. The creek was back there in that area. And as a bunch of guys from Georgetown, 6, 7, 8, or 9 guys, when we go swimming, you would find a little certain thing that, from out the clear blue sky, and you say, oh man, where? And nobody lived in that particular area. All that I was considered Monk Grove, but certain thing you found that, people, certain thing went on back there. You find teacups and spoons and stuff and whatnot. Yeah, the Sample River was in that area, but the Sample River would be east of that. Okay, you see, so Georgetown was small. Then again, it was vast, because certain areas that the only thing you would know about it if you went there yourself. You see, because me and some friends, Christmas time come, we used to go out there and get Christmas trees. And we didn't, we used to go out there and get Christmas trees. Yeah.
And wasn't there like a city dump?
Yeah, the city dump was back there.
City dump?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any memories about going back there, playing on the dump?
Memories? No, you didn't play on the dump, brother. Not even no such thing as playing on the dump. That was the place you go to get wood. Here's the story about that. International Paper Company came to Georgetown in 1933. All right? And they started building from 33 to 37. In 1937, they opened up. All right? In 1947, that's when they had the 10th anniversary. And Harvard School campus was full of anything you wanted as far as food concerned. Oh, yeah. As far as food concerned. And then National Paper Company, they gave it to you. And they was taking everybody inside the mill, and they had people to show you how the paper is made, how the wood is made into paper. All right? And when a bunch of wood, I guess, when they come out that chute, they had a name for it. When they come out plant, they would put it on the dump truck, and they would take it out to the dump. Now the people in Georgetown, we had to go out there to get the wood. Now you had rake, hose, pitchfork, whatever you could to get that wood from under that slush that they had. You see? So it was never no playing, it was work. You get out there 5 o'clock in the morning. You get out there before the dump truck get there. All right? So, hey, listen, you got 8 or 9 people out there at the same time trying to get wood.
And it was remember a guy named Mr. Sam Platt?
Sam Platt.
Did he work with that?
Well, yeah, but see, a man before Mr. Sam Platt, the first man started was Mr. Simmons. He was the man that worked on the dump.
Okay.
All right. So when the dump truck come and putting the wood there, when they dumped the wood, he had a pitchfork, and he would rake the pile down. Okay, because he's trying to keep the dump even. They would dump some here and some there, and this way they would keep it evenly. But no, it was no playing. You didn't have time to play. You play after you, when that mule and wagon come and put the wood on there, or either somebody with a little pickup truck come and get the wood and take it back, and they would charge you 50 cents, 75 cents, according to how much wood you got. So that's how we made it. Yeah, Life Everlasting Tea.
You remember cropping that up and getting some of that?
Yeah, sure, I remember. That was that was a thing that keeps you going. Makes you Life Everlasting Tea. They still grow. Yeah, they still grow. Hawkins Street, they had Mr. Charlie Windley. He had a store. Then on the corner of Mammon, on Mammon Road and Hawkins Street, they had the Broadway Inn right across from your grandmother. Yeah, the Broadway Inn. And the guy who owned that was Freddie Jones.
I remember that.
Okay. Now, Mr. Charlie Windley, he owned the Charlie Windley store. On Butt Street, we had Mr. George Thomas. He had a grocery store right in this halfway there. And on the corner, you had Tom Mike. He had a cafe. All right. On 4th Street, you had which is now Gilbert. You had Forbes store. And on the right-hand side of Forbes store, you had Wendell's store. Down the block, you had Julius Prello's store. You remember that? Okay. Farther down, going west, on G Avenue, you had the barber shop, Hicks Barber Shop. Going north, you had Miss Nancy Johnson's shop, grocery shop. Emmanuel Street. Halfway down Emmanuel Street, you had the Blue Flame. Blue Flame. That was a cafe we danced at. Down on the corner of Mammon Street, Mammon Road, you had Flagner. Grocery store. On Taylor Street, you had Moore's Gathers grocery store. Remember Moore's Gathers? All right. Between Front Street and Taylor Street and Front Street, you had Hump Shop. On the left, going north. On the right, you had Bank grocery store. Going north on Front Street, going east on Front Street, you had Westbury grocery store on the Mammon Road. And across from that, you had Big Sam. Big Sam, he used to sell hamburgers and franks, and I think he was a barber. In the radius of, I think it's 16 miles, you had 20 plantations right in Georgetown. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got you right up the road. Well, about 4 blocks from here, you got 2 plantations, about 4 or 5 blocks from here. And going south, you got Hopswee, And with this other plantation, Hampton. You got Hampton, and Hopsby, and yeah, you got the Oaks right down there, right down there. That's right. Yeah, he had a. You leave at the grocery store, and you go right there, and you go get your shoe fixed. He had about 11 kids. You know, we back during the Depression, we all ate. Nobody went hungry. They didn't have no money, but we all ate. You know. No, you couldn't get fat because you had too much chores to do. There was no such thing as getting fat. No way.
Doing the farming, right?
Doing the farming, everybody had a little piece of farm. But see, the good thing about it is everybody had a farm and everybody shared. Nobody's selfish. Somebody would plant collard greens, some would plant okra, some would plant squash, some would plant watermelon, tomatoes, so forth and so on. And when all the crop come in during the summer months, they spread it around. Well, this was from time the backer going. Because I started going in the back in 39, but I was just a little, you know. And my mama would take me there. Well, that's the work that they had to do. You know, the man would pay you back during that time, I guess is, because I know when I start drag, I was 12 years old.
Drag.
That means you put the horse up there, and it's like a box. Okay, and the box got sides on it. Man got smart. Man got smart, and then man started putting a big wheel in the center of the drag, so it make it easy on the mule or horse, whatever, pulling at the back. See, the drag was. Let's use a half a block example. You got the backer field, and you got to plant that tobacco about this wide so that drag can get in there. Because you got guys on this row, you got guys on that row, sometimes you got 5 croppers in the field. And all that tobacco got to go into that drag. And sometimes my mule got to take that tobacco a block, sometimes a half a block. Okay? And then you had people at the tobacco barn. You had some stringers and some handers. That means that they put a pole in the center. And you got somebody on this side and somebody on that side handing the tobacco to them. And they were stringing up on this pole. And that tobacco stick been from my father from here to that thing there. And you do that all day long, except from, I think, 12 o'clock we go for lunch, from 12 to 1. Sometimes it would get so hot that you couldn't go back 1. You had to go back 2 or 3. That's how hot to get in that field. And there was sometimes those rows was long. Oh yeah. $3 a day in North Carolina, but North Carolina paid you more than South Carolina. They paid you $4 a day. Okay? And they would come and pick you up in a little truck.
That's in the 40s?
Yeah, 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Yeah. So you in the 50s, I went in the 50s.
I'm Evelyn Wragg. My father's Edgar Hilton and my mother's Evelina Hilton. I had, Edna, Ethel, Eloise, Ernestine, Erlene, Edgar, and Evelyn. It was 7 of us. And I was raised right in Georgetown on West End Front Street, right across the street from Bank Store. And yeah, went to Howard School. And graduated June 1954. Enjoyed going to Howard School. Very nice. Nice teachers. I remember when I went to New York, I graduated in June 3rd. June 4th, I was on a Greyhound bus going to New York. I went to New York going to the promised land to get better, do better, move on up like the Jeffersons say. And it was good. And that's when I met him when I was in 12th grade, when I went to visit with my sisters in New York. See, and then, because my mom died when I was going to 12th grade. And so I met him then, and he came home for my graduation. I didn't know what that was all about, but he came. And so we've been together ever since. November will be 57 years that we've been married, and so a lot of the places he talked about that I know about, you know, like the stores in the area, that's what Mr. Henry Smith talked about. Now this man, I call him a historian. They refer to him as the ambassador to Georgetown. And he had a lot of, I visited him at his house, and he had a lot of things. He gave me a picture of Mr. Raymond Gathers, Mr. Campbell, they call him Cam, and Pastor Babby. What's Pastor Babby's name?
Humes.
Urban Humes.
Urban Humes.
It was about 5 men on that picture, and they were being, I think, inducted into the union at the they call it Southern Craft then, but the International Paper Company. I remember when we had to have stamps to go to the store to get things. Things was rationed then, and you had to have stamps for the sugar and the kerosene, things like that. They said you had to keep the places dark because of invasion from somebody or something. I didn't understand what they were talking about, but so we had some dark shades that when you pull those shades down, it just kept the light from going to the outside. Those of us who could not go to college, who didn't have money to go to college, so you went to New York, some went to Philadelphia, some went to New Jersey. When I was reading that book, it was like I'm sitting on Front Street, where I was raised as a little girl, and looking at these people come to pick up these people to take them to work in their homes. I saw a white lady would come in her car, and she's going to pick up the black lady down the street. If she comes, the majority of the time, the black lady is going to sit in the front of the car with her. If it's a man that picked them up, then the lady sits in the back. They come and they pick them up. The majority of them walk back home. They would come and pick them up to go to work, but they walk back home. And so when I read The Help, it was like just looking at all of this happening all over again. It was true. You know, this was, and I was just glad to see this being portrayed on the screen like this, you know, and I don't know if to say with dignity, but it just gave it something more. They did.
They did.
They really did.
And the effects they had
Yeah.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
There actually
They did.
were times that you would see one of the ladies from my neighborhood, and she's working downtown with these white folks, and she brings one of the kids home with her, or bring two of them. They come, maybe she got to do something or whatever. And I mean, because they trust these people with their children. This is, it was a point in the movie where she said, these people raise your children. They nurture your children, you know, and yet you don't want them to even use the same bathroom that you use. I mean, what is this? What is that all about? I don't know if I saw it when I was growing up. I didn't see it like that,
Okay.
you know, because I just saw it as them, they have to make a living
Yes, ma'am.
for their family. They have to take care of their family,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, and so that's how I saw it then. But during the movie, when I'm looking at this lady telling her daughter, the daughter's in her teens now, and she's ready to go out to work, and she's telling her, you know, how she should act, and
Pass, yes.
that,
Yes, sir.
that's pain.
When you condition yourself, or however you condition, you doesn't let your body fill with hate, because your parents would tell you, like my mother used to tell me, James is nobody better than you. You see, so when you grew up with that good feeling, there's nobody better than you, you got it made. But if you sit back and cry about certain things, and then you defeated already. You see, but we Georgetownian, we always, like I told you before, we had to get up and go. You see, it's nothing to discourage us. You see, well, it's just like my wife was saying before, we went to work in the green tobacco, 3 hours a day. It was big money. When I tell my kids that I work for 3 hours, oh no, Daddy, I said, yes, we did. I said, but that's why I'm gonna make sure y'all get a college education. Sure, y'all wouldn't have to go through that. So my mother and her mother, they prepared us for the same thing that we prepared our children for. You see? So we didn't hate nobody. You know, we loved everybody. You see what I'm saying? And that's the way that we in Georgetown, I can't speak for the whole of South Carolina, but all of my friends I grew up with, you know, we got along fine with everybody. When we go to the movies on Saturday, there's some kids used to take spitball and throw it down, you know. But you see, you shouldn't do that. But at least they didn't throw nothing hard to hurt anybody, you see. But now some people now tell me, says, I sure want to be up there with y'all. Some white people tell me, I sure would like to be up there with y'all, you know, because we had big fun up there, you know. But we was all about love. You see, it wasn't no hate, so it was easy to get along with one another. You know, we know the like when you go downtown to do shopping, the fountains colored white. We know it was there, but it didn't bother us. When we go downtown to shop, we go to the colored fountain like they said. You see, the bus station. The bus station was the same way. The white people got beautiful place to sit inside. The black people had to go around on the side.
To a little window.
A little window. If it be raining outside, you're in big trouble. You know, so, you know, when I look at Georgetown now, I really feel proud because the thing that we made, and see everybody began to come together. And the people that want to come together then, but it was a thing at a time. You see, because you had a lot of good white folks in Georgetown, all over the South. You see, but you're going to find that little 1/3 that going to give the other 90% population bad, make them feel bad. But that's the way it was, and we went along with it until we was able to do better. When we was able to do better, we cut that busing.
Yes, sir.
There it is. Some people say it was a block long. Some people say it was half a block long. But the importance of that was, it was a place that the black man go 5 o'clock in the morning and sit on that iron. And he waiting for some white person to come by to give him a job. Whether it's farming, or driving a truck that particular day, whatever it was, whether it's picking fruit or a vegetable, most of the time it was working picking fruits or something. And they would bring their lunch, and they would sit right there. And by 9 o'clock, there's nobody on that lazy iron. Everybody done going and got a job. Oh, he was on Front and Fraser, right there where the steel mill is at now. And matter of fact, right there, going north, going east, there was a sign there saying the old slave market. There was an arrow pointing down Front Street. You remember that? Well, you know why that arrow was pointing?
To the market clock.
To the market clock. That's where they sell the slaves at. You see, so eventually they took it down. But a lady in my church told me, she said, they didn't take it down because they wanted to take it down. The black people made them take it down. So that's what this lady told me. Now see, that's a myth. It was just the opposite. See, the opposite comes from the word lazy. You see? But it, like I said, again, it was the opposite. There was people looking for work, and that's where they go to sit at. Well, the meaning is why they picked that spot, yeah, and you think about it yourself. It was 4 corners. You see? You got 17 running right through there. You understand what I'm saying? If a man got a farm on the west side, he got to come to that corner. If he coming from Iron or Charleston, he got to come by that side. If he coming from Conway, he got to come that side. If he come from Andrews, he got to come that side. All right, if he come from Myrtle Beach, he got to come that side. You see, so it was a particular spot that they picked. Now, I don't know why they picked that spot, but that's the spot that they picked.
It was genius.
That's what I would say when I look into it. And like I said, well, like I told the person, well, if you don't know, that's what will happen. But since I know about that, I know it's not true about laziness. Like I tell anybody, it was the opposite. That was the slave market. Yeah. And under the Rice Museum, it was a jail.
Right, I know, yeah, right.
It was a jail.
Right.
But they wanna cover it. But you know, the best thing could happen to all this is it do get public, so the white person don't have to hang their head down in shame. Right. You know, just like Emmett Till murder when they murdered him. It happened. You did it. All right, everybody in Mississippi didn't do it.
Right.
It's 3 or 4 men did it. So you can't blame the whole state of Mississippi for what a few have done. You can't blame all the white people in America what went back in slavery time. Now if you do it to me now, then you got a problem. That's right. If you do it to me now, because it done gone. You see, what happened back then, I can't blame the white man what happened back then. He ain't had nothing to do with that. But don't try to do it now. My thing was always that white and black should sit down together. Martin Luther King said, let's sit down together and let's bake bread together. So we all can get along. They ain't but one God. And he created us all. Now if you want to know why some black, some white, some Asian, you have to ask him that. All right? But the thing about it is we all got to live with one another. We all going to die right here in America. So let's sit down and let's have a good time. Forget about all that hate. It ain't going to do but make you wrinkle anyway.
Yes, sir.
You see, that's all it's going to do to you. That's why my mother used to say, son, if you call you a nigga, you call him a cracker. If you got to fight, fight. If you got to run, run. But don't hate nobody.
I agree with what he said, that because hate is worse than cancer, I feel. Or I would say hate is the worst cancer there is, but for those in Georgetown and those in these United States and all around the world, we all come from different cultures and stuff, and we want to embrace our culture and where we come from and whatever, but we have to learn to embrace each other so that we can get along in this world, because there's no getting along with all this pulling and, you know, things that's going on now.
In New York, they had a skyscraper building, supposed to be 90 stories high. It was going up. And somebody says, you know, what y'all building on is a cemetery. Sure enough, they checked it out, and they found out about it. And it's a slave cemetery. So they had to quit. They had to quit building. But what they did, they quit building and they made it. They got fences around it, and they got a big statue up there telling you about it.
Okay.
So that's what I would like to see. For
Maybe see them preserve it.
Preserve it. Because it would be good for the people right here in Georgetown to see something like, and it would be good for the International Paper Company also, because they you know, people can look at, well, they did a good deed. It's very good that they would do something like that. So it would be a feather in their cap if they would preserve it, and they could with all the money the International Paper Company got. They could preserve it.